The old brass key felt wrong in my hand as I approached Marissa's storage shed. 6 months since the funeral, and I still couldn't bring myself to clear out her things. But today was different. Today, I needed to find Mom's antique music box, the one thing Lila had asked for since moving in with me. A gust of autumn wind rustled the overgrown garden, sending dead leaves skittering across my path. The padlock clicked open on the third try, the door's hinges protesting with a long, mournful creak. "Grandma?" The whisper was so faint I almost missed it. I froze, my hand still on the door handle. That couldn't be Lila's voice. She was at school. I dropped her off myself this morning. "Grandma, please." My heart stopped. The voice came from the darkest corner of the shed, behind stacked moving boxes and old furniture. I fumbled for my phone's flashlight, hands trembling as I swept the beam across the cluttered space. The light caught a flash of purple fabric, Lila's favorite sweater. She was huddled against the wall, her small wrists bound with zip ties to an old radiator pipe. "Oh God, Lila." I rushed forward, knocking over boxes in my panic. "Baby, who did this to you?" She flinched when I touched her, then collapsed against me, sobbing. Her skin felt ice cold, her dark hair matted with dirt. "How long had she been here?" Daddy said. She choked out between sobs, said I had to stay quiet. Like Mommy did. The world tilted sideways. Like Mommy did. Marissa's accident 6 months ago, the fall down the basement stairs that never made sense, suddenly crystallized into something far more sinister. "When did your father bring you here?" I worked at the zip ties with shaking fingers, trying to keep my voice steady. "After school yesterday," he said. Lila's voice dropped to a whisper. "He said I was being bad like Mommy." The zip ties finally snapped. I gathered Lila into my arms, her small body trembling against mine. She felt lighter than I remembered, her collarbones sharp under my fingers. "Has this happened before, sweetheart?" She nodded against my shoulder. "Sometimes. When I make Daddy mad. Or when I tell about the mean lady who visits." "Mean lady?" I filed that away, forcing myself to focus on getting Lila to safety. My mind raced through options: hospital first, then police. Document everything. But most importantly, keep her away from Trent. As I carried her out of the shed, my phone buzzed. Trent's name lit up the screen along with his text. "Taking Lila to dinner tonight. Be there at 6 to pick her up." He didn't know. He had no idea I'd found her. I looked down at my granddaughter, at the angry red marks on her wrists and the fear still lingering in her eyes. The same eyes as Marissa's, eyes that must have held similar fear in those final months. "It's okay now," I whispered, but the words felt hollow. Nothing about this was okay. My daughter was dead, her husband was a monster, and I'd been blind to it all. But not anymore. I held Lila closer as we walked to my car, each step cementing my resolve. Trent would pay for what he'd done, to my granddaughter, to my daughter, to our family. But first, I needed to understand exactly what I was dealing with. The game he'd been playing was about to change. He just didn't know it yet. The emergency room's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across Lila's face as the doctor examined her wrists. I sat nearby, clutching my phone, waiting for Trent's inevitable call. The hospital staff had already documented everything: the bruises, the malnutrition, the rope burns. Each piece of evidence felt like another nail in Trent's coffin. My phone buzzed. "Not Trent, Finn." "Mom? What's going on?" The school called saying Lila never showed up today. I stepped into the hallway, keeping one eye on Lila through the door. I found her in Marissa's storage shed. "Trent." My voice cracked. "He left her there overnight." Silence crackled across the line. Then, "I'm on my way. Don't let that bastard anywhere near her." As if summoned by Finn's words, Trent's voice boomed down the corridor. "Where's my daughter? I'm her father. I have every right to see her." I turned to see him striding toward me, all polished corporate charm in his tailored suit. The same suit he'd worn to Marissa's funeral. Behind him stood a woman I didn't recognize, her sleek blonde hair and designer clothes screaming executive. Something about her presence made my skin crawl. "Eleanor." Trent's smile didn't reach his eyes. What's this about? The school called, saying Lila was absent. Cut the act, I snapped. I found her in the shed, tied up, like you left her. The blonde woman's eyes widened slightly before her face smoothed back to neutral. Trent didn't miss a beat. That's ridiculous. Lila's been acting out lately, making up stories, just like her mother used to. He lowered his voice. All concern. I've been meaning to talk to you about getting her some help. The casual mention of Marissa sent rage coursing through me. Like, the help you got my daughter? Mrs. Blake, the blonde woman stepped forward. I'm Callie Rivers, Trent's colleague. Perhaps we could discuss this somewhere private? For Lila's sake. A memory surfaced, Marissa's voice on the phone, 3 weeks before her death. He's always working late with this woman from the office. Says I'm paranoid for asking questions. You. I met Callie's carefully neutral gaze. You're the mean lady Lila mentioned. Color drained from Callie's face. Trent's hand tightened on her arm, a gesture I recognized from countless photos of him with Marissa. Always controlling, always possessing. Mom. Finn's voice cut through the tension as he rounded the corner. He positioned himself between me and Trent, his shoulders tight with barely contained fury. Mr. Calloway. A police detective appeared behind us, flanked by 2 officers. We need to ask you some questions about your daughter's injuries. Trent's mask slipped for just a moment, long enough for me to see the rage beneath. This is a misunderstanding. Eleanor's clearly upset imagining things. Grief can do that to people. The evidence isn't imaginary, I said quietly. Neither are the videos from Marissa's phone. I was bluffing. I hadn't found any videos yet. But Trent's slight flinch told me they existed somewhere. Callie's hand twitched toward her purse before she caught herself. We should go, she murmured to Trent. Call your lawyer. As the police led Trent away, I caught a glimpse of Lila watching from her hospital room. She looked so much like Marissa in that moment, the same quiet strength beneath the fear. I hadn't protected Marissa, but I would protect Lila, even if it meant burning Trent's whole world down to do it. Mom, Finn touched my shoulder. What videos was that about? I don't know yet, I admitted. But Trent's reaction just told us where to start looking. Marissa's laptop sat on my kitchen table like a time bomb. After 3 days of Lila in the hospital, Child Protective Services interviews, and temporary custody arrangements, I finally had a moment to search for those videos I'd bluffed about. Finn had managed to crack Marissa's password, her wedding date, of all things. Found something. Finn called from the living room where he was going through a box of Marissa's papers. Bank statements. Look at these transfers. I opened the first video file I found instead. Marissa's face filled the screen, her eyes wide with fear. If anything happens to me, she whispered, it wasn't an accident. Trent's been. The recording cut off. The timestamp showed 3 days before her death. My hands shook as I opened another file. This one showing Trent and Callie in Marissa's home office, arguing in hushed voices while Marissa recorded from the hallway. The money's gone, Trent, Callie hissed. The board meeting's in 2 weeks. When they audit, they won't find anything. Trent cut her off. Marissa's company will take the fall. I've already planted the evidence. The phone rang, startling me. Unknown number. Mrs. Blake. A woman's voice, familiar but unexpected. This is Callie Rivers. We need to talk. I think we said everything we needed to at the hospital. Please. Her voice cracked. I have information about Marissa's death. But, Trent, he's watching me. Can you meet me at the Riverside Cafe in an hour? I glanced at Finn, who was still absorbed in the financial documents. Why should I trust you? Because I made a mistake getting involved with Trent. Because I didn't know about Lila. And because. She paused. Because I'm pregnant, and I'm terrified. The cafe was nearly empty when I arrived. Callie sat in a corner booth, her designer outfit replaced by jeans and an oversized sweater. A bruise peeked out from under her collar. He's losing control, she said before I could speak. The company's investigating financial irregularities. He blamed Marissa's company for the missing funds, but it was him. When she found out, he killed her. Callie flinched. I thought it was an accident. I swear I did. But then I found this. She slid a USB drive across the table. Security footage from their house. The night she died. My phone buzzed, a text from Finn. Mom, get home now. Trent's here. I have to go. I stood abruptly. My son. Wait. Callie grabbed my arm. There's more. The board meeting tomorrow. He's planning to. The cafe's window exploded inward. Callie screamed, shoving me down as glass rained around us. Through the chaos, I glimpsed a dark SUV speeding away. He knows, Callie whispered, blood trickling from a cut on her cheek. Oh God, he knows I talked to you. I helped her up, my mind racing. Finn was alone with Trent at my house. Lila was safe at least, still in the hospital under guard. Come with me, I said. We'll need your testimony. She shook her head, backing away. I can't. The baby, I have to think about. Callie. I caught her arm, feeling the tremors running through her body. You're already in this. Help me stop him, or he'll destroy you too, just like he destroyed Marissa. For a moment, I saw the same fear in her eyes that I'd seen in my daughter's video. Then something harder took its place. Okay, she whispered, but we have to hurry. The board meeting isn't just about money. He's going to frame Marissa's company for corporate espionage. Once those documents are filed, then we'll stop him before he gets the chance. I pulled out my phone to call Finn. It's time to end this. My tires screeched as I pulled into my driveway, Callie clutching the dashboard beside me. Through the front window, I could see Finn and Trent in what looked like a calm conversation, but Finn's clenched fists told a different story. Stay here, I told Callie, but she was already opening her door. He'll be more controlled if I'm there, she said. He won't want me to see. The sentence hung unfinished, heavy with implications about what Trent was capable of. Inside, Trent sat in my favorite armchair like he owned it, while Finn stood rigid by the fireplace. The USB drive felt like it was burning a hole in my pocket. Eleanor, Trent smiled, all warmth and concern. I was just telling Finn about my plans to seek full custody of Lila. Given recent events, I'm worried about your mental state. Recent events like leaving your daughter tied up in a shed? Finn's voice cracked with rage. Allegations that will be thoroughly discredited. Trent waved his hand dismissively, then froze as Callie stepped into view. Something dark flickered across his face. What's she doing here? Telling the truth, Callie said, but her voice trembled. About everything. Trent stood slowly, straightening his jacket. Careful, Callie. Think about your future. Our future. I saw the security footage. I cut in. From the night Marissa died. His expression didn't change, but his left hand twitched, the same tell I'd noticed at poker nights years ago, when he was bluffing. What footage? The cameras you didn't know about, Callie said. The ones Marissa installed after she caught us. After she knew something was wrong. Trent moved with startling speed, grabbing Callie's arm. Finn lunged forward, but Trent already had his phone out. One call, he said quietly, and certain documents go public. Documents that show Marissa's company stealing corporate secrets. Documents that would destroy her legacy and leave Lila with nothing. Those documents are fake, I said, but uncertainty gnawed at me. How much damage could he do, even with lies? Does it matter? His grip on Callie tightened. The scandal would follow Lila forever. Is that what you want? To destroy your granddaughter's future in some misguided quest for revenge? It's not about revenge, I said, but the words felt hollow. Wasn't that exactly what I wanted? To make him pay? Lila's face flashed in my mind, not scared and hurt in the shed, but laughing at the park last summer, Marissa pushing her on the swings. What would justice mean for her? Let her go. Finn took another step forward. Or I swear. Or what? Trent's smile turned cruel. You'll add assault charges to your mother's growing list of problems? Face it, Eleanor. You've lost. Take the deal. Drop everything. Let me handle Lila's future and we all walk away. I pulled out my phone, fingers hovering over the screen. You're right about one thing. This ends now. I pressed play. Marissa's voice filled the room, If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident. Trent's been. The recording cut off just like before, but it was enough. Trent's mask slipped, revealing something desperate and dangerous underneath. That proves nothing, he snarled, but his grip on Callie loosened. No, I agreed. But the security footage will. And the financial records. And Callie's testimony. The question is, how much are you willing to lose before you realize you've already lost everything? The silence stretched taut as a wire. In it, I heard Marissa's voice again, not from the recording, but from memory. Sometimes the best revenge is living well. I met Trent's eyes. So, what's it going to be? Detective Sarah Chin set a stack of photos on my kitchen table, spreading them out like a macabre deck of cards. Security footage stills from Marissa's house, financial documents, and images from Lila's hospital examination. We have enough to arrest him, she said, but making the charges stick will be harder. His legal team is already trying to paint me as unstable. I finished, pushing away a photo of Lila's bruised wrists and threatening to destroy Marissa's company reputation. Finn paced behind us, phone pressed to his ear. Yeah, I understand the board's concerns, but if you just look at the documentation. He caught my eye, shaking his head. Trent's lies were already taking root. My phone buzzed, a text from Callie. Meeting moved up to tonight. Trent's making his move early. I can't stall him anymore. There's something else, Detective Chin said quietly. We found evidence of previous incidents. Other women, before Marissa. The words hit like a physical blow. What kind of incidents? Similar patterns. Successful women who suddenly lost everything. Their companies, reputations, sometimes their lives. All ruled accidents or suicides. Finn ended his call. Mom, we've got another problem. Trent's lawyers are filing for emergency custody of Lila. They're claiming you orchestrated this whole thing to damage his reputation. The room tilted sideways. I gripped the table edge, my knuckles white. He can't, after what he did. He can try, Detective Chin said. And he has friends in high places. Another text from Callie. He knows I helped you. Says he'll make sure I lose the baby if I testify. The pieces clicked together. Trent's pattern, his confidence, the way he'd always stayed just ahead of consequences. He didn't just hurt people. He destroyed them completely. The board meeting, I said suddenly. What if we could prove the financial fraud before he frames Marissa's company? We'd need access to his private servers, Detective Chin replied. And authorization from. I have his passwords. Callie's voice came from the doorway. We all turned. She stood there, pale but determined, one hand protectively over her stomach. All of them. And I'm ready to testify. It's dangerous, I warned. He'll come after you. He already is. She moved closer, laying a USB drive on the table. But I won't let him destroy another family. I owe Marissa that much. Finn checked his watch. The meeting's in 3 hours. Even with the passwords, downloading and analyzing that much data. Then we work fast, Detective Chin said, already pulling out her phone. I'll get my cyber team. A crash from outside cut her off. Through the window, I saw 2 men in dark suits approaching the house. Trent's private security. Back door, Detective Chin ordered, drawing her weapon. Now. As we moved, I grabbed Marissa's laptop and the USB drive. We had one chance to expose everything, the fraud, the abuse, the deaths he'd caused. One chance to ensure Lila's safety and Marissa's justice. Mom. Finn grabbed my arm as we slipped out the back. Whatever happens next, we're in this together. I thought of Marissa's final video, her voice trembling but determined. Of Lila in that shed, still brave despite everything. Of all the other women who'd faced Trent's wrath alone. Together, I agreed, clutching the evidence that could save or destroy us all. But we finished this tonight. The sound of breaking glass echoed from inside the house. As we ran, I silently promised Marissa that her death wouldn't be in vain. Trent had spent years building his house of cards. Time to watch it burn. The corporate boardroom loomed before me, all glass and steel and money. Detective Chen's cyber team had worked miracles with Callie's passwords, but we were cutting it close. Too close. He's already inside, Finn whispered, checking his phone. With the board and his lawyers. I clutched the flash drive containing everything, the security footage, financial records, Marissa's videos. My entire case against Trent, compressed into a tiny piece of metal and plastic. Mrs. Blake. A security guard approached. Mr. Calloway is expecting you. Of course he was. He'd probably orchestrated this whole moment, letting me get this far just to watch me fail. The boardroom doors opened. Trent sat at the head of the table, surrounded by stern-faced executives and sharp-suited lawyers. His smile hadn't changed since Marissa's funeral. Practiced, perfect, poisonous. Eleanor, he stood, all concern and warmth. I'm so glad you came. We were just discussing Marissa's company's unfortunate situation. You mean the situation you created? I moved to plug the flash drive into the presentation system, but one of the lawyers cleared his throat. Before we proceed, he said, I should inform you that sharing potentially stolen corporate data would constitute a criminal act. Trent's smile widened. We're only trying to protect you, Eleanor. Your recent behavior, the false accusations, the harassment of my staff, the attempted kidnapping of my daughter. Kidnapping? My voice cracked. She was chained in a shed on property you broke into. Another lawyer interjected. After making numerous threats against Mr. Calloway. The room spun slightly. They had twisted everything, turned every piece of evidence against me. And the board members were nodding, buying every word. Play the security footage, Finn demanded, but Trent held up his hand. Ah, yes, the mysterious footage that supposedly shows me. He paused dramatically. Doing what exactly? Because our technical team found only edited clips, manipulated dates. Really, Eleanor, fraud doesn't suit you. My phone buzzed. Detective Chun. Evidence tampering at the station. Original files corrupted. Callie missing. The floor seemed to drop out from under me. He got into everything, the evidence, the witnesses, even the police files. Now, Trent continued smoothly. Given your emotional state, I'm prepared to be generous. Drop these ridiculous allegations, sign over temporary custody of Lila while you seek help, and we can avoid pressing charges. You killed her, I whispered. You killed Marissa. Your daughter's death was a tragic accident, he said softly, his eyes hard. Don't dishonor her memory with these paranoid fantasies. The board members shifted uncomfortably. I could see it in their faces. They saw me as the unstable one, the grieving mother who'd lost touch with reality. Mom. Finn touched my arm. We need to go. Now. One more thing, Trent added as we turned to leave. The hospital called. Lila's been asking for her father. It would be a shame if your issues prevented those visits. The threat hung in the air, clear as crystal. He would use Lila to control me, just like he'd controlled Marissa. In that moment, I understood completely why Marissa had felt so hopeless at the end. Trent didn't just destroy evidence. He destroyed reality itself, replacing it with his own version where he was always the hero, always the victim, always in control. Outside the boardroom, my phone buzzed again. An unknown number, with a video attachment. The thumbnail showed Callie, terrified but alive, holding up today's newspaper. I have proof, the message read. The real proof. But we only have one chance to use it. I stared at the phone, then at Finn, thinking of Lila in that shed, of Marissa's final days, of all the women Trent had destroyed. One chance. It would have to be enough. Callie's proof led us to Marissa's old office building, now mostly empty after hours. Finn kept watch while I followed her directions to the third-floor server room. My phone buzzed with Detective Chen's warning. Trent left the board meeting, moving fast. The server room door was already open. I wondered when you'd figured out. Trent's voice came from the darkness. He stepped into the dim emergency lighting, holding Marissa's old laptop. She always backed everything up here. Paranoid to the end. Where's Callie? Safe. For now. He set the laptop down. You know, Marissa stood right there the night she died. Making the same mistakes you're making. Movement behind him caught my eye, a flash of blonde hair. Callie, her face bruised, gesturing frantically at something on the desk beside Trent. She wasn't the first, was she? I kept his attention on me. Detective Chun found the others. All those accidents and suicides. Tragic coincidences. His smile turned sharp. Just like what's about to happen here. A grieving mother, unstable after her daughter's death, breaks in to destroy corporate property. Things get out of hand. You really think you can get away with it again? I already have. The board believes me. The police have nothing. Even your precious evidence is corrupted. He stepped closer. It's over, Eleanor. You lost. Maybe. I glanced at Callie again. She had something in her hands now, a small recording device. But Marissa didn't. I pressed play on my phone. Marissa's voice filled the room. If you're watching this, I'm dead. And Trent killed me. His composure cracked. That's not. I found his pattern. Marissa's voice continued. The women, the companies, the fake evidence. I've uploaded everything to a secure server. This is the key. Callie moved suddenly, tossing something small and metallic. I caught it, a USB drive on a familiar chain. Marissa's old necklace. Trent lunged for it, but Finn appeared in the doorway, Detective Chun beside him. It's over, Trent. Nothing's over. He grabbed Callie, using her as a shield. One call, and everything you love disappears. Lila, your reputation, Marissa's legacy. You can't hurt them anymore. Callie's voice shook, but her eyes were steel. I sent copies to everyone. The board, the police, the victims' families. Every single woman you destroyed. The mask finally shattered. Rage transformed his handsome face into something monstrous. He shoved Callie aside, lunging for me with murderous intent. I didn't flinch, didn't run. The taser hit him mid-stride, Detective Chen's aim perfect. He collapsed, twitching, as officers swarmed the room. Mom. Finn rushed to my side. Are you okay? I stared down at Trent, remembering Marissa's smile, Lila's courage, all the lives he'd broken trying to maintain his perfect facade. Your mistake, I told his prone form, was thinking this was about revenge. It was always about justice. For Marissa, for Lila, for all of them. As they led him away, I helped Callie to her feet. Thank you, she whispered, for not giving up. Marissa didn't give up either. I touched the USB drive, still warm from being hidden in the server room all these months. She made sure the truth would come out one way or another. My phone lit up with a text from the hospital. Lila's asking for you. Go, Detective Chin said. We've got enough to put him away for life. Multiple counts of fraud, assault, murder. I left them processing the scene, evidence mounting with every open file. Outside, the sun was rising, painting the sky in shades of hope. Time to go home. Time to heal. Time to show Lila that monsters can be beaten, that truth finds its way to light, and that love, fierce, protective, unrelenting love, is stronger than any darkness. 6 months after Trent's arrest, I stood in Marissa's old office, watching Lila explore the space that would soon become her art room. The company board had transferred ownership back to the family, a small gesture of atonement for their role in Trent's schemes. Grandma, look. Lila held up a dusty photo frame she'd found in a drawer. Marissa's smile beamed from behind the glass, her arms around a younger Lila. Can we put this one up? Of course, sweetheart. I helped her hang it on the freshly painted wall, next to the growing collection of her drawings. The latest showed 3 figures, Lila, me, and Finn, surrounded by bright colors and floating hearts. My phone buzzed. Detective Chen. Trent took the plea deal. Life sentence.
No parole.
Mom. Finn appeared in the doorway. Callie's here. She entered carefully, her baby bump now visible beneath her flowing dress. The board meeting went well, she said. They've agreed to compensate all the families Trent hurt. It won't bring anyone back, but it's a start. I finished. The healing process was different for everyone. Some of Trent's other victims' families had wanted revenge. Others just wanted to forget. We'd chosen to rebuild. Aunt Callie, Lila ran to hug her. The title had started spontaneously a few weeks ago, and nobody had corrected it. Family came in many forms, we'd learned. I found something else, Callie said, pulling out a small USB drive. More videos from Marissa. Personal ones for Lila. When she's older. I took the drive, feeling its weight. More pieces of Marissa to discover. More memories to share. Thank you. There's something else.
Finn shifted uncomfortably.
Remember those offshore accounts Trent had? The forensic accountants found another one. In Lila's name. The implications hung heavy in the air. Blood money, meant to buy silence or loyalty. We'll donate it, I decided. Set up a foundation for domestic violence survivors. In Marissa's name. Lila tugged at my sleeve. Can we make it help kids too? Like me? Especially kids like you. I hugged her close, marveling at her resilience. The nightmares were less frequent now, the therapy helping her understand none of it was her fault. A familiar melody drifted through the office, Marissa's old music box, the one that started this whole journey, playing its bittersweet tune. Lila had placed it on the windowsill, letting afternoon sunlight catch its tarnished surface. You know, Callie said softly, Marissa told me once that revenge wasn't about destroying someone. It was about refusing to let them destroy you. I watched Lila return to her drawing, adding another figure to the family portrait, Marissa, floating above like a guardian angel. She hummed along with the music box, peaceful and present in a way that seemed impossible 6 months ago. We should go, Finn checked his watch. The support group meets in an hour. I nodded, gathering my things. The group had been Callie's idea, bringing together families affected by Trent's crimes, creating strength through shared healing. As we left the office, Lila stopped to straighten the photo of Marissa. Mom's watching us, she said matter-of-factly, making sure we're okay. Yes, she is. I touched the frame gently. And we are okay, aren't we? Lila smiled, Marissa's smile, bright and unbreakable. We're better than okay. We're family. The music box played its final notes as we walked out together, leaving the shadows of the past behind. Not forgotten, never forgotten, but transformed into something stronger. Something that could heal instead of hurt. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting better.
I won't pay. Wait, Ava, wait. I've always been there for you, Ava. Can't you grant me at least this? That time before the fire when I saw my parents die when they fell in the world. Did you approach me because my parents were corporate executives and you thought you could get a share of the inheritance? No, that is not true. 706, so it wasn't lucrative enough for you. So what if it was? But it's not only that I also care about you, but it was just about the money for you. You wanted a wife with a good income so you could marry and live a perfect life. I never said that. You wanted a kid so that I couldn't go just yet. I deserve the same. I've devoted myself to you. I've always done as you asked me. And this you did because you've accomplished your goals. I'm glad we don't have kids. I am Ava. I've been married to John for 8 years. We don't have children. This was a decision we made together before we got married. I work as a consultant and love my job. John wanted kids, but he had no intention of being involved in parenting. He couldn't shake off the idea that childcare is a woman's job and naturally assumed I would be the one raising them. I understand how you feel, John, but I'm not planning on having children. Why not? Because I want to continue with my career. But children need their mother's love. It's not about being a mother or anything like that. Children should be loved and raised by everyone. I can't do that right now. I'm happy you want to marry me, but if you want children, it might be complicated. You should choose to be with someone else. Someone else. I can't even think about it. I want to marry you too, John, but this is something I just can't compromise on. He seemed very serious, and the topic of children came up several times after that. I still want to marry Ava. If I'm with Ava, I guess I can live without children. Is that so? And maybe one day we might want children, right? Don't expect that. Whether I will want children or not isn't something I can say now. We talked thoroughly and decided to get married. Both my parents and his parents understood our decision, and I think our married life has been fulfilling. My husband and I met in college. I was in my 3rd year when he joined the club as a freshman, and that's how our relationship started. We both loved movies and were part of a film critique club, engaging in various discussions. Since we liked the same genres, we often went to movies together. One day, he asked me out, and that has led us to where we are now. I loved him too and thought he would be the one I'd marry. But life is once only. I didn't want to compromise on such a big decision as marriage. I didn't tell my husband, but when he said, "Maybe one day you'll want children," he was exactly right. I'm not opposed to having children. It's just not the right time yet. I wanted to dedicate my time to my job, but saying that would give my husband hope. I felt it would be like tricking him into marriage by saying, "Maybe I'll want them someday." So I thought I must avoid that. And now, after 8 years of marriage, we still don't have children. I'm beginning to feel like focusing on my job for another 2 years, building my achievements and skills before thinking about children. Of course, I haven't told my husband this. Raising his hopes would trivialize the serious decision he made 8 years ago. Our marriage has been good these past 8 years. However, one phone call would drastically change our lives. It was a call from the police. My parents had been in an accident and taken to the hospital. I rushed there but couldn't be with them in their final moments. They were laughing and healthy when we had dinner at their house a week ago. I had talked to my mother on the phone 3 days prior, and she sounded fine. Yet there they were, lying cold and expressionless. I couldn't accept it. My husband was there to comfort me in my grief. After the funeral, he awkwardly managed the household chores as I lay in bed. My mother-in-law came and cooked for us. I felt a little relieved, realizing I wasn't alone. However, this relationship was about to be greatly affected due to my parents' assets. Money changes people. I never thought it would happen to me. I took a week off work for mourning. Supported by my husband and mother-in-law, I managed to get by, but I had a job to return to. I couldn't just keep crying. I pushed myself to go back to work. My colleagues and boss welcomed me back warmly. My boss even offered to reduce my workload, but that was counterproductive. I wanted to be buried in work to forget my sorrow. I persuaded my boss to let me handle more clients. I was tired, but it seemed to calm my mind. Then one day, my husband brought up my parents. "Hey, shouldn't we start sorting out the belongings soon? It's going to get complicated if we wait more than 3 months." "Sorry, I didn't want to bring this up, but I'll help, okay?" "Ah, yeah, we should do it. I'll help, Ava. You seem busy." "It's okay. I want to do everything for my parents. I was never able to do anything for them as a daughter. I want to at least do this properly for them in the end." "Okay, yeah, I understand. If it gets too much, just tell me. I'll help anytime." "Thank you." Following my husband's advice, I spent the weekend sorting out my parents' estate. Their assets totaled about $1,300,000. I continued spending weekends cleaning up the house and sorting through their belongings. While cleaning the house, I was flooded with memories. I was born in this house and left it when I got married. It's full of memories. In the autumn, we did pumpkin carving in the garden and made snowmen in the heavy snow of winter. Remembering these things brought tears to my eyes again. It would be nice to raise a child here. That thought slipped out unintentionally. It was a moment of significant change in my heart. No more doubts. I decided to share my feelings with my husband. But when I returned home, our conversation never happened, and we ended up divorcing. When I got home, my husband was there to greet me. "Welcome back. I'm home. Hey, today you received your parents' money, right?" "What?" "Well, you were talking on the phone with the bank guy the other day, right?" "You heard that?" "Ah, yeah, I just happened to hear it." It's impossible he just happened to hear it. At that time, I was in the walk-in closet. While choosing clothes, I got a call from the bank and talked then and there. Unless my husband entered my room, he couldn't have heard anything. Normally, we don't enter each other's rooms, but that means he must have entered my room at that time. What is this feeling of unease? I was so happy until just a moment ago. Your parents' inheritance was $1,300,000, right? What? I didn't tell you, did I? Ah, well, I saw a note lying around. That's a lie. I did write a note, but it's inside my schedule book. That means he snooped through it. I haven't received it yet. Oh, is that so? Yeah, I'm swamped with work right now, so I haven't gotten around to it. I see. My husband didn't ask anything more, but he seemed restless. Am I just being paranoid? It can't be that he's dazzled by my parents' inheritance. He was kind to me when I was distraught. That just can't be. I tried to convince myself of that, but the next day my belief was easily shattered. My in-laws came to our house uninvited, revealing their true nature. I'm home. Welcome back, Ava. Huh, mother-in-law and father-in-law too. You're here too. Yes, of course. Today is a celebration after all. What celebration, Mom? Wait a minute, I told you Ava hasn't received the inheritance yet. Oh, but it's already decided she will, right? So it's fine. What are you talking about? Oh my, hasn't John told you? We're planning to rebuild our house. What is that? So sorry, I wasn't aware. Oh, well, that's okay. We're counting on the money, dear. What? We're planning to use your parents' inheritance to rebuild our house. The mother-in-law started talking about something I hadn't even agreed to. My parents were both corporate executives. My husband, believing they left a significant inheritance, had told his parents we would rebuild their house and live together, using my parents' inheritance to cover the costs. That's ridiculous. Who would agree to such a thing? I won't pay. Wait, Ava, wait. I've always been there for you. Can't you grant me this one wish? I was there for you when your parents died, wasn't I? Did you approach me because my parents were corporate executives and you thought you could get a share of the inheritance? No, that's not it. I remembered something. You asked a lot about my parents before we started dating, didn't you? What was that about? Well, so it was all about the money from the beginning. So what if it was? But it's not just that. I care about you. You wanted a wife with a good income so you could have an easy life. I never said that. You thought if we had a child quickly, I wouldn't be able to leave. That's only fair. I've devoted myself to you. I've always done what you wanted. You listened to me. That was just preparation for fulfilling your ambitions. I'm glad we don't have kids. Hey, Ava, you're being unfilial by not showing us a grandchild's face. You should at least pay for the house rebuilding. No, I have no obligation to do so because I have no intention of continuing my marriage with your son. What did you say? Mom, that's enough. She's been all about the money from the start. If we divorce, she's the one in trouble. She'll have to give me half of her assets. Well, I don't mind divorcing. Half the assets is a sweeter deal for me. Is that so? Then let's go ahead with the divorce. Could you please leave? Huh? Why do I have to leave? Well, because this place is in my name. Oh, are you going to pay the rent? It's $2,400 a month. Can you afford it? Don't be ridiculous. Of course I can pay that kind of petty cash. Oh, is that so? With your net income of $1,900, you can afford the rent here. Have you been investing or something? Then I guess I should be the one to leave, right? Wait a minute. I never liked this house in the first place, so I'm leaving, but it's not because I can't pay. Ah, okay. But please do leave. Ava, it's a shame you're going to lose half your money. The mother-in-law didn't forget to leave a parting shot. But what about my father-in-law? He was like a statue. Was there any point in him being here without saying a word? I involved a lawyer afterward, anticipating trouble. That turned out to be the right decision as they were making a fuss. Of course, they got nothing from my wealth or my parents' inheritance. My husband thought he would get half of the $690,000 inheritance, not knowing that inheritance is not considered marital property. Foolish. I nearly lost a part of our shared assets, $690,000. But surprisingly, my father-in-law stepped in, disgusted with his wife's and son's behavior. He hinted at divorce. My mother-in-law, desperate not to be left, pleaded with him, and he agreed to stay on the condition that they wouldn't take any money from me. My mother-in-law, not wanting to be divorced, convinced my husband, and in the end, no money was exchanged between us. My father-in-law, when he decides to act, does. He was more than just a statue. He was the only one who apologized to me. He promised to keep an eye on the two to ensure they wouldn't bother me, and expressed his condolences to my parents. The divorce between my husband and me was finalized, and I became a free woman. I ignored a single tearful call from my ex-husband. I owe him no favors. He had been living off my earnings, and now he's tightly controlled by his father financially and lacks freedom. It feels good. Meanwhile, I decided to move back to my parents' house and live there. 4 years later, I remarried and am now pregnant. It's a late pregnancy, but I'm grateful for this child. I hope I can do pumpkin carving with this child in the garden. Oh, isn't this exquisite? It's not just lovely, it's a pink diamond. And it comes with a price tag of $50,000. My mother-in-law, who couldn't be bothered to attend my own mother's funeral, appears to be relishing a lavish getaway with her friends, completely oblivious to my presence. She gleefully shared details about her new sparkling pink diamond ring, seemingly fueled by jealousy towards a friend who flaunted a similar ring. In her triumph, she revels in having outdone her friend by choosing a more expensive ring from the same store. However, the reality is far from what it seems. It's implausible for her to afford such a costly item, and it turns out she had secretly taken money from my husband's safe to make the purchase. This money, crucial for her future, had been earmarked for her nursing home fees. My name is Hillary Johnson, a 46-year-old woman living with my husband, Steve, who is 7 years my senior, and our high school senior daughter, Gina. Despite not being wealthy, we lead a stable life. I have worked part-time at a local drugstore for over a decade, and my hobby is cultivating herbs. Lately, I've been challenging myself with a medical herb certification exam. Jenna and I often discuss her future dreams, bringing us joy. 6 months ago, my father-in-law passed away, introducing significant changes to our modest lifestyle. According to his will, the house went to Steve and the cash to my mother-in-law. The money was intended for her nursing home fees, given her age of 75. Despite this, she pleaded tearfully to live in the house, and after much debate, we agreed to cohabitate for a year while searching for a suitable home. The area where the family home is situated has now become a popular high-end residential area. Still, we are not wealthy. It's an old land holding. I learned that my mother-in-law had a habit of spending recklessly, and though I had prepared for it to some extent, the reality was shocking. As Steve heads out for dinner shopping, my mother-in-law, on the first day of our cohabitation, casually asks, "Hillary, could you lend me some money? I'm going out. Thank you just in case something comes up, and I need more. Give me $100 for now," she says under the pretext of buying dinner. I found myself pondering how much groceries she intended to purchase. Despite my reservations, I made the mistake of giving her the requested amount. 2 hours later, she returned by taxi-laden with bags from an upscale department store filled with expensive deli items and sweets. Tonight we feast. I wanted to try these side dishes. They're supposed to be delicious, and we have desserts too, she exclaimed proudly. Curious, I asked, "Mother, how much did this cost?" She replied, "Well, let's see. I went a bit over because of the taxi, but I covered the extra, so it's fine." Her proud declaration left me speechless. But little did I know this was just the beginning. Managing finances became my biggest headache after moving to the family home. While my father-in-law was alive, we used online supermarkets for groceries, paying with his card. Learning from my initial mistake of giving her large sums of money, I no longer entrusted her with shopping and kept the wallet in a locked drawer. Unhappy with not receiving money, she stopped doing any housework, caring only for the flowers at the entrance. Despite our monthly allowance of $300, she squandered it on clothes, beauty salons, meals, or coffee with neighbors. By mid-month, she would usually run out of money and ask for more. Frustrated by her reckless spending, as I was saving for my daughter's education, I calmly admonished her when she requested more money for a lunch date with friends. Even Steve, who works, gets an allowance of $300. I can't give you more than someone who's working, so please use it more wisely, I said. Dissatisfied, she returned to her room, likely to ask Steve for money later. The allowance came from the nursing home fund, and if it diminished, it would be her who suffered. When Steve came home, I expressed my concerns. "Did your mother ask you for more allowance again?" He replied, "Yes, she did, but I can't be too hard on her. She must be lonely without Dad. She's always been vain, you know. But I want to fulfill her wishes for at least this year that she's here. I understand, but your kindness isn't truly benefiting her. Besides, it will eventually have repercussions for us." You're right, I get it. My mother-in-law had a tendency to flaunt, especially in front of her 3 old friends who were mothers of my husband's classmates living in the neighborhood. I became aware of this during the funeral arrangements for my father-in-law, Steve. "It's your father's funeral, so arrange the altar this way and get more extravagant flowers. The neighbors are coming. Don't embarrass your father," she instructed. Steve, being the spouse, complied with her demands to some extent, but the costs were significantly high. My mother-in-law's primary aim was to show off to the neighbors. I even felt sympathy for her having to keep up with people from a different lifestyle. During the funeral, she only greeted 3 families of her friends. One day, after having lunch with her friends, she came back excited, her eyes sparkling. Today, Debbie showed me a ring worth $20,000 that she got from her husband for their golden wedding anniversary. I've never seen a $20,000 ring before. That's a wonderful gift. You don't have such wealthy friends, do you, Hillary? You'll probably never see anything like that in your life, she remarked with superiority and sarcasm. using her friends to boast, "Hillary, you're so plain. Why don't you put on some makeup? Have you ever been to an upscale lunch?" It was all about one-upping me. I tried to ignore her words, but she seemed increasingly hostile towards me, especially after I refused to give her more money. After settling my father-in-law's affairs and starting to look for a nursing home, my mother's health took a turn for the worse. When my sister and I rushed to the hospital, the doctor informed us that she had about 3 months to live due to advanced cancer. She was in a fragile state and could deteriorate at any time. My mother had occasionally mentioned feeling unwell before, but being a person of great endurance, it wasn't easy for her to show any signs of weakness. I regretted not paying more attention to her. I asked my sister to stay with her while I went to fetch some clothes and valuables from her apartment. As I packed a large bag in her room, I found some cash, likely her living expenses for the month, in a drawer. I took the cash with me, planning to shower and head back to the hospital. I left the bag in Steve's upstairs room, and after getting ready, noticed the zipper slightly open. A sense of unease washed over me as I checked the bag and found the cash missing, suppressing my rising anger. I went downstairs to my mother-in-law's room. "Mother, may I ask you something?" I inquired as she prepared to leave. Turning around, she asked, "How's your mother doing?" "I have plans with my friends right now." I confronted her. "The money that was in the bag in our room, you have it, don't you? That money belongs to my mother. Please return it." "I don't know what you're talking about. I never go upstairs. Are you accusing me of stealing?" she retorted, rushing past me and heading for the door. "I'm going out for a fancy Chinese dinner with my friends tonight, so I don't need your poor excuse for a meal. Give my regards to your mother." With a smirk on her face, she left the house, leaving me in shock. Just then, Jenna came home and asked, "Mom, are you okay?" "Your grandmother's money. My mother-in-law took it." Unable to confront her without evidence, tears naturally started to fall from my eyes. Jenna gently stroked my back to calm me down. "That's terrible. It must have been her. I've seen her coming down from upstairs before. To think she would stoop to taking your grandmother's money. I can't forgive her. But how's Grandma?" "If you're going to the hospital, I'll come with you. Let's think of a way to get back at her," she said. As we walked, Jen's words encouraged me, lightening my heart a bit. Despite feeling sorry for my father-in-law, I decided to protect my family in my own way. A few days later, my mother's conditions suddenly worsened, and she passed away. In her final days, she was mostly in a daze, occasionally lucid. I expressed my gratitude to her repeatedly. For raising me, for her love, for Gina's future, dreams for the plans with Steve, and for our old age. She didn't speak, but her eyes smiled gently and sometimes nodded. While talking to her, I remembered a visit to my father-in-law before his death. He had thought about divorcing my mother-in-law, but didn't want to trouble his son and his wife. He asked me to sell the house and put my mother-in-law in a nursing home after his death. That's when he told me about her spending habits. Her attitude changed when Steve started kindergarten, living in a wealthy area, feeling pressure to keep up with rich neighbors. She deluded herself into thinking she was wealthy too, possibly fueled by Steve's success in a famous company. I regretted not putting her in a nursing home sooner. It could have prevented the theft of my mother's money. Steve and Gina arrived in time for my mother's final moments, but only my sister and her husband were there at the end. When we returned home to prepare for the funeral, my mother-in-law was out. I decided to show her the last bit of kindness. We held a small funeral for my mother without her presence. I tried calling her, but she was out and never answered. When I returned home after the funeral, everything was quiet as if she had stayed out overnight. Then my mother-in-law returned in a good mood. My condolences for your loss. It must have been hard, she greeted me. I noticed a shiny new jewel in her hand that I had never seen before. All this, look, isn't it beautiful? A pink diamond. It cost $50,000. How did you get that, Mother? I asked. I bought it, of course. Debbie introduced me to the store. It's a reservation-only place in New York City, so I went for an overnight stay with my friends. The hotel we stayed at, and the meals were wonderful, she said, to my astonishment. During my mother's funeral, she indulged in luxuries, enjoying an overnight trip to New York with friends. I was left speechless with disbelief. I bought something even more expensive than what Debbie showed me. Feels good, my mother-in-law declared. I couldn't comprehend how she obtained such an expensive item. You don't have that kind of money. How did you get it? I questioned. Nonchalantly, she replied, Oh, I found it in Steve's room safe. My passbook was in there with exactly $50,000. Since it's in my passbook, it's my money, right? I felt frozen and disappointed by her actions during my mother's funeral. Although, in all honesty, her behavior was somewhat expected. It was confirmed that she had entered our room upstairs. The passbook was in the safe of the study room that Steve now uses. The safe was an old dial type, and Steve, finding it tedious to turn the dial, left it unlocked, thinking the study was locked anyway. On the day my mother passed away, I intentionally left the study unlocked, suspecting that she might take the opportunity to enter our room and take the passbook from the safe. That $50,000 is from my father's inheritance. Do you understand what that means? I asked her. Unperturbed, she replied, I know. It's my money left by your father, so what's wrong with using it? I began to feel pity for my mother-in-law. Sure, it's your money, and you're free to use it. But that was meant for your old age. We'll be moving out, so please manage on your own from now on. At first, my mother-in-law looked confused, but she slowly turned pale as she understood my words. Wait, isn't there a separate fund for the nursing home? It's more than this amount, right? She inquired. I explained, yes, there was more, but it decreased due to the inflated funeral costs of my father-in-law and your monthly requests for more allowance from Steve. Feeling the need to illustrate the alternatives, I handed her brochures of nursing homes I had collected over several months. She looked at them speechless and shaking. At that moment, Steve and Gina came down from upstairs. I had reported to them after opening the study, so they had come to check. Steve, initially skeptical that his mother had stolen the money, had no complaints about what I did. While I would have properly arranged for my mother-in-law's nursing home if nothing had happened, her intrusion into our room and the theft of the money prompted me to protect my family. I had made it clear that entering our room and touching the money was unacceptable, I declared. I decided to sever ties with her for life. Steve, you'll stay in this house, right? It's sad to sell a house filled with memories, but taking care of parents is a son's duty. I desperately clung to Steve. Checking the safe, I realized she had taken more than the passbook. The cash I withdrew for the car inspection, too. That's too much. I trusted you, Steve, I said, shocked by her actions, struggling to speak. Steve admitted, Oh, I have it. Just borrowed a bit. It was $11,000. But that wasn't all. What about Hillary's mother's money? I demanded, panicking. She replied, Oh, I'll return that too. Then it's fine, right, Hillary? She hastily handed me the money, possibly pretending about the $50,000 ring. Until the end, there were no words of apology about my mother's money. I'm sorry, but I can't live with you anymore. I'll protect my own family from now on, I declared. She broke down crying, clinging to Steve till the end. However, Steve's grief-stricken anger was intense, and he acted quickly. He sold her belongings to create a lump sum and found a nursing home affordable on her pension. The chosen home, though far from the family home, I probably won't see her again in my lifetime. Steve occasionally gets calls from the home, and she seems calmer now, possibly settling into her new environment. I regretted not placing her in a home earlier. Perhaps if we hadn't lived in that house, her life might have been happier. A part of me felt a little sympathy for her. After she left, we moved. Waiting for Jen's graduation, Jenna got into her desired university and started living on her own. The family home, being in a popular area, quickly found a buyer. Steve is now applying for a transfer to a branch near the sea. We plan to spend a few years until retirement there, searching for our final home. We hope to continue living peacefully and harmoniously as a family. My father-in-law was a corporate executive, so if you know how much an amazing person like that would leave in their estate, please let me be the first to find out. So casual sounding, Alex. I rolled my eyes, but kept a placid smile on my face and met her warm grin. I heard it's about $800,000. Alex looked surprised. My name is Mia. Alex and I have been married for 20 years, and our son moved out this year to start college. Life with just the two of us doesn't involve much conversation, but we manage well enough. On his days off, Alex forms a baseball team with his colleagues and practices from morning to night. I work part-time and spend my weekends gardening or going to yoga with friends, filling my alone time with activities I enjoy. We do different things, but it doesn't bother us, and I think we're like any other couple our age. However, an unsettling air began to disrupt our routine. It all started with a message from a friend who goes to yoga with me, attached with a photo. I'm at the station now, and isn't this Alex, Mia's husband? I hesitantly opened the photo, and though it was from a bit of a distance, I could see it was Alex. He was walking, holding hands with a woman. My heart pounded loudly with anxiety. Is Alex having an affair? He said he was going to practice baseball today in preparation for tomorrow's tournament, but could that have been a lie? I think it's my husband, I replied. My friend quickly responded, what will you do? Do you want to come here? I pondered for a while before using my phone. No, it's okay. I'll talk to my husband. I closed my phone and sat down on the sofa. I felt too drained to do anything. My mind was only filled with the thought, what should I do? I could ask Alex, but I was afraid. If he is having an affair, what then? Divorce at this age, and with only part-time work within my dependence allowance, how could I possibly live on my own for the rest of my life? If I pretend I don't know anything, I can continue to live a peaceful life as before. But could I pretend not to know? I was lost in these thoughts alone. I wondered how long I had been like that when I heard the front door open, and I snapped back to reality. It was already 7:00 p.m. What's wrong? Why are all the lights off? Alex turned on the living room lights and spoke with a tone of disbelief. Oh, sorry, I was sleeping. Alex laughed in disbelief and started to wash his uniform in the washing machine. Seeing this, I realized that Alex had indeed been exercising, and I started to think that the photo might have been a mistake. If you're tired, why don't we go out for dinner? I nodded vigorously, accepting his suggestion. Spending time together might dispel my doubts. Did you go anywhere else today besides baseball? Nowhere in particular. Why? I was just wondering. You said you wanted new shoes the other day, so I thought maybe you went shopping. Oh, I haven't got around to buying them yet. With that, the conversation ended. But the Alex in front of me was the same as always, And they say there are at least 3 people who look alike in the world, so I decided to think it might have been someone else. Yet once suspicion has taken root, it's hard to eliminate. When Alex came home late from overtime or had to stay overnight on a sudden business trip, I found myself unable to shake the suspicion that he might be cheating. Unfortunate events often follow one another. One day, on my way back from my part-time job, I stopped by the supermarket to buy ingredients for dinner. I noticed my cell phone ringing in my bag, pulled it out, and stepped into a deserted aisle to see the name on the display, which made me frown. It was my brother's name. I do occasionally communicate with my sister-in-law for events like a child's enrollment or graduation, but it's been years since I last spoke to my brother on the phone. Such sudden calls from relatives often bear bad news. Hello. Hesitantly answering the phone, what I was told by my brother was that our father was not in good health. He had collapsed suddenly at work, was taken to the hospital by ambulance, and after a thorough examination, was told he wouldn't have much longer. Our mother passed away from illness several years ago, and since then my father has been living alone, having refused the offer from my brother and his wife to live with them. Seemingly in good spirits, even when I talked to him over the phone last week, he seemed to be doing well, so I was very surprised. I said I would visit him soon and ended the call, then took a deep breath to calm my trembling heart. That evening, when Alex came back from work and I told him the situation, he made a very sad face. I see. Your father. Don't worry about home. Go and see him. So the next day, I went to see my father immediately. Dad, what happened? Are you okay? Mia. I suddenly got dizzy and couldn't get up. Can't be aging. Sorry to worry you, though. Usually loud and boisterous, my father spoke weakly, causing me pain. His complexion was poor, but he didn't seem to be in such bad shape. Mia, is something the matter? Did you fight with Alex? His unexpected question made me flustered. My father gave a wry smile. You're like your mother, always enduring. We don't know what the future holds, so live as you wish. Parents are happiest seeing their children's smiles. His words made me realize I wanted to talk more with my father, but he said he was tired, so I decided to leave for the day. It was only about a 50-minute mistake, but the fact that he was so fatigued by it made tears fall from my eyes. I sat on a sofa near my father's hospital room, waiting for the tears to stop when a man in a white coat sat down next to me. Are you visiting your father? I'm in charge of his care. Oh, I'm sorry. How embarrassing. I hurriedly took out a handkerchief to wipe my tears. Looking at the doctor again, he seemed to be around my age with a kind face that was very reassuring. It's okay. You must have been surprised by this sudden event. Do you have any questions? With his encouragement, I asked various questions about my father's condition and what to expect in the future. Even though I repeated the same questions several times, he patiently answered them without showing any signs of annoyance until a nurse came looking for him, saying, "Doctor, there you are." Thanks to him, my heart settled somewhat despite the sadness. When I got home, I remembered the conversation with my father and finally decided to call a friend who had sent me the photo. I had decided to confront Alex's suspected infidelity, which had been weighing heavily on me. I was worried I might have meddled too much. I'm sorry for making you feel bad. No, I'm glad you told me. Finally ready to face my husband's cheating, but I have no idea what to do. I spoke honestly, and my friend, laughing, advised me. Actually, my husband is a lawyer. He says a lot of people come to him for consultations about divorces due to infidelity. I'll ask him for you. Hearing that, I felt relieved that I wasn't the only one troubled by infidelity. My friend quickly took action and told me that it would be better to gather evidence of the cheating and suggested using a detective agency for that. She gave me contacts for several detective agencies and even offered to go with me if I was nervous, making me feel grateful to have such a friend. Since then, I've been busy with visits to my father and working my part-time job. Around the same time, Alex started saying that his work had become busier, with a noticeable increase in overtime and business trips. His actions were so suspicious that I found myself eagerly awaiting the results of an investigation. The long-awaited results came 2 weeks later. When I went to the detective agency, I was told with great difficulty, "It's clear-cut." Without feeling agitated or panicking, I was able to accept reality. Knowing the truth, the fog in my mind cleared, and I felt a sense of calm. I was shown a portion of the numerous photographs and had the past 2 weeks' activities explained to me. I was also told that they had obtained some audio data, which I listened to. But everything was far worse than I had imagined. In the first place, baseball is only once a week. It's always for 2 hours in the morning, and the other members would quickly go home to their families. They said all the other time was spent with his affair partner, and sometimes they would even wait at the family restaurant near the baseball field for Alex to arrive. It seems that he even went to the trouble of washing the practice clothes he took with him as a fake, just to cover up his lies. All the overtime and business trips were lies. It was all time made up to spend with his affair partner. From the most shocking audio data, it was revealed that Alex was discussing with his affair partner about getting a divorce as soon as he received his inheritance, because his father-in-law was in poor health. "It probably won't last another month, so let's reserve a high-rise condo near the station now," he was heard consulting. It seems that the recent business was due to him starting to prepare for a new home and making reservations for furniture and household appliances as well. Next month, there were even plans for a pre-wedding trip, and I felt dizzy. The fact that my husband was waiting for my father to pass away was enough to lose any love or similar feelings I had left. I didn't feel sad at all. Instead, I felt a strong desire to get divorced as soon as possible. After paying a substantial amount to the detective agency, I took all the data and left it at a friend's house just in case. When I mentioned that I wanted to hire a lawyer, they readily agreed and offered to introduce me to an acquaintance who was a lawyer. However, all my money had been spent on the detective agency, and I was hesitant to touch the household finances for fear it might negatively affect the divorce. So I reluctantly consulted with my brother. My brother scolded me, saying, "Why didn't you talk to me sooner?" and generously lent me the money that would be needed for the lawyer. After meeting with a lawyer and talking to my part-time job about wanting to work full-time or as a regular employee, they said I could work as a contract employee, and it seemed that things would be financially manageable. Now, with all the preparations in place, I was thinking about how to confront Alex with divorce. Then one midnight, I received a call from my brother. He was calling to inform me that our father had passed away. I woke up Alex, and we both headed to the hospital. After a brief visit with my father, Alex greeted my brother and his wife and said to me, "Take your time saying goodbye," and then went home alone. From there, everything happened so quickly that I don't remember it very well. There was a wake, a funeral, and greetings to relatives, leaving no time to grieve. After the funeral, my brother and his wife were exhausted from taking care of the house, discussing the inheritance and the succession. Alex, as usual, claimed to be busy with work and didn't help on his days off. Even right after my father-in-law had passed, he would go to baseball. My brother and his wife were quite disgusted, but knowing that my decision to divorce was firm, they said nothing, which I appreciated. But there was so much to do that the divorce was put on the back burner. Things didn't start to move significantly until about half a year later. Finally, all the procedures related to my father were completed, and the amount of the inheritance was determined. By the way, has your father's inheritance come in yet? It's scheduled to be transferred tomorrow. But why do you ask? No, just curious. Your father was a big company manager, so I was wondering how much his inheritance would be. Alex spoke as if to make excuses. I sighed inwardly, but kept a bright smile on my face without letting my true feelings show. I heard it's $800,000. Alex's face showed surprise. That much? Yeah, my father must have worked hard to save it up. I just got a call today from the lawyer that the paperwork is done. It'll be deposited tomorrow, so maybe we can go out for something delicious to eat. Emphasizing that the money would be deposited the next day, I smiled brightly. All right, that sounds good. Alex seemed distracted, as if lost in thought. The day after Alex went to work, I blatantly left the passbook on the desk before heading to my job. When I returned from work, as expected, the bank book was gone, and in its place was a completed divorce application. I hadn't thought things would go this smoothly, so I chuckled to myself thinking about Kaja and headed to my lawyer's office to discuss the situation. Then, without going back home, I went to my late father's house. Most of my belongings had already been moved there. What was left in the house were things Alex and I shared, and what to do with them will be decided later. It will probably become the residence of Alex and his mistress. The divorce application had been submitted, so there was no reason for me to contact my soon-to-be ex-husband. The only potential contact would be from my lawyer regarding a claim for compensation for the affair, but they couldn't do anything right now, as they hadn't been able to reach him. However, 3 days after returning to my family home, Alex called. Mia, what is going on? The bank account is empty. Where is the inheritance? And where are you? The inheritance? Do you mean mine? Why would you use it? I played dumb. For now, his asking for my location meant that Alex had returned home. I had to contact my lawyer immediately. Anyway, why isn't there $800,000 in your bank account? Did you take my bank book? I was planning to change the account for my company's salary deposit and had prepared it, but it's gone, and I've been looking for it. Don't mess with me. It's a shared asset since we're married. Give it to me. I don't want to be yelled at on the phone. It's painful for my ears. The inheritance is a personal asset, not shared. Besides, I've already filed for a divorce, so we're not married anymore. Don't contact me again. It's okay for you to live with your mistress in our house. Bye. I heard Alex gasp, but I hung up the phone unilaterally and immediately informed the lawyer's office of Alex's whereabouts. From that night on, there were multiple calls from Alex, but I ignored them all and enjoyed a drink by myself. After almost a year of painful days due to suspicions of Alex's infidelity, it was wonderfully peaceful to be able to relax like this. Waking up after a night's sleep, I was shocked at the sheer number of missed calls on my phone. It must be Alex panicking after getting a call from the lawyer. With trepidation, I checked the messages to find angry ones like, "Was this about compensation for infidelity? If you knew about the affair, just say it." And even was trying to be apologetic. "Mia, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I want to talk things over." Without replying, I left my phone aside and went to work. Inside my bag was a new phone. This one was unknown to Alex, and I would use it from now on. Knowing Alexa's character, I had prepared accordingly. After a while, the lawyer said that the other party desperately wanted to meet, so a confrontation was arranged. I had anticipated this and preferred to settle things quickly rather than drag it out. We chose a family restaurant with semi-private booths for the meeting place. I had chosen the venue as I didn't want it to be out of public view. At the agreed time, Alex and his mistress arrived. It had been about a month since we last met, and Alex seemed a bit tired. Maybe it was just my imagination. I had seen pictures of the mistress, but it was my first time meeting her in person. Her hair was done up in a bun on her head, and she was dressed casually. She looked so young and cute that I wondered if she was a student. But I knew from the investigation report that she was 25 and worked in a cake shop. I couldn't understand that such a fluffy cute girl saw in a 50-year-old man. Alex began. "Mia, what is all this about? No inheritance and now a demand for compensation. I don't understand." Both the lawyer and I couldn't help but give a wry smile at Alex's words. "The inheritance is something my father left for me, and Alex, you have no right to it. The compensation is because the divorce is the result of your infidelity, which hurt me. You have to pay for that. It wasn't infidelity that caused it. It was a mismatch of personalities. You didn't initiate the divorce, I did. So the affair has nothing to do with it." I feel like holding my head in frustration at such an unreasonable argument. I knew he wasn't the brightest person, but I never thought he would be this lacking in common sense. A person at fault cannot initiate a divorce. It's not about who speaks up first having the advantage. You committed adultery. If that's the truth, you understand you're in the wrong, right? And of course, I will demand compensation from her as well. Why should I have to pay? Her cute face was a mismatch between her defiant expression and the sharp tone of her voice. Is that true? Alex looked desperately at the lawyer's face. Unfortunately, it is. You said there would be money coming in. I haven't received a cent, and now you're telling me I have to pay. I'm going home. I'll divorce Alex, so it's none of my business anymore. She raised her voice in a shout, grabbed her bag, and stormed out of the cafe. The surrounding customers started looking at our table, which was embarrassing. We know her workplace, so it will be fine, the lawyer said with a smile, causing Alex's face to pale. Actually, that girlfriend, she's incredibly headstrong. When we were having an affair, she seemed so sweet. She always smiled when we were together, and she would cry when it was time to leave, saying she was sad. Even being told about the affair, I don't know how to react. After we started living together, her cooking wasn't good, and she constantly wanted new bags and clothes. It was cute at first, but after we got married, it just became a hassle. It's only been about a month since we were married, but Alexa's complaints about her were spilling out nonstop. I realized I always compare her to Mia. You could do housework and cook well, and you always waited for me to come home without a single complaint. So would you consider giving it another try? I'm so astonished that my mouth hangs open. I hadn't anticipated this turn of events, and the lawyer seemed utterly speechless as well. It's impossible. No, please. Let's work this out. I'll change my ways. I promise never to cheat again. You said you were busy with work when you cheated, didn't you? I can't trust anything now. Alex begged intensely, repeating, "Please, let's get back together. Remember when my father was in danger until he passed away? There was about a month, but you never visited him once, saying you were busy with work. You were having an affair even when I was in such a painful situation. After my father passed away, all you thought about was when you would get the inheritance, right? There were signs you had opened the passbook several times. You probably had planned to take the inheritance and leave. The completed divorce papers disappeared, hadn't you?" As I confirmed each fact, Alex began to tremble. He probably hadn't thought everything was exposed. You had a reservation for a fancy condo, right? But too bad, since the inheritance didn't come through, you had to cancel. I suppose the old house we lived in must be nothing but agony for her. How do you know all this? I have plenty of evidence. You're probably still thinking that if you remarry me, you won't have to pay any compensation, won't you? At that, Alex fell silent. It seems I hit the mark. It's profoundly pathetic to realize he's after my money. If there's nothing more to say, I'm going home. Wait. Alex grabbed my hand as I tried to leave. Mia is the most important to me. Please give me another chance. Alex's eyes were brimming with tears, looking like they could spill at any moment. I'll never betray you again, and I'll do all the household chores. Please come back to me. Unable to keep his emotions in check, Alex started to sob uncontrollably. Hey, stop it. It's embarrassing. Aren't you newlywed? Why don't you talk it out together? We should each walk our paths in life. The truth is, she's been cheating on me. It seemed she married me for my money. Without it, I'm just an old man. The ex-husband collapsed on the floor and cried, looking miserable and helpless. But I had no obligation to reach out to him. Our conversation leaked to the surroundings, and it was incredibly embarrassing to see everyone whispering and looking at the weeping husband. Ignoring the crying husband, I picked up the bill, and the lawyer and I headed home. Later, because they stubbornly refused to pay the alimony, I reluctantly called Alex's parents for advice. It had been a long time since I last spoke to my in-laws, who lived far away and were incredibly shy. After thanking them for attending my father's funeral, to my surprise, I found out that Alex had not reported the divorce or the remarriage to his parents. The in-laws were shocked by the news. The mother-in-law was so distressed that she took to her bed. We don't know what to do. Give us some time, was the unreliable response. So I gave up on counting on them. However, the next day, Alex's father brought his brother to visit Alex. Alex's uncle, unlike his father, was an exuberant man who talked and laughed a lot. I remember Alex complaining to me about how tough he found his uncle, especially when the relatives gathered. Thanks to the appearance of this powerful helper, I don't know what happened, but they agreed to pay the alimony, and Alex's uncle decided to take him back to the countryside. Alex's father tearfully apologized to me for this decision. The in-laws, now over 80, promised that since they had no income, they would have Alex work at a relative's factory nearby and pay me the alimony under their supervision. As for the woman Alex had an affair with, she had unilaterally served him divorce papers and disappeared. But since I knew where she worked, I had no choice but to contact her workplace. I was yelled at not to contact his workplace, but I spoke with a woman claiming to be the manager, and she told me an astonishing fact. Alex had been saying she was cheating on me with the manager's husband, who was just getting ready to file a lawsuit. Rest assured, we won't let him get away, she said. And true to her word, a few months later, the compensation was deposited into my account. When I went to the cake shop to say thank you, the mistress was indeed no longer there. As expected, she had been fired from the cake shop. And although she had wanted to become a pastry chef, it seemed unlikely now. She was working multiple jobs to repay the settlement and was said to be seen going to a nearby construction site at this time of day. The manager informed me. Out of curiosity, I took a brief look, and there was the mistress, with her cute face sweat-drenched without any makeup, being scolded by an older man while working. With compensation due for 2 parties, she must be burdened with a significant amount of debt. I don't know how many years it will take her to repay it, but I think she got what she deserved for destroying someone's family. When I told my son about the divorce, he was very surprised, but he said something like, "It's your life. Do what you want," which was a relief. What I was most worried about was how my son would take it. And now, as I'm about to turn 50, I thought I would never be involved in romance or remarriage. But recently, there's someone I've started to care about. He's the doctor who took care of my father on his deathbed. Every time I visited the hospital, we would talk more, and he had a very high level of likability. After the divorce, while wandering alone in a shopping center, I happened to meet him, and we started talking. It turned out that the doctor was also divorced, and finding ourselves in similar situations, we hit it off even more. We've had dinner a couple of times, and I find his company very comfortable. I don't know what the future holds, but I still want to try my best to find happiness. One day, having returned overseas only a week before from the trip of a lifetime in Vietnam and Cambodia, I received an anonymous-looking call which sent my heart racing. Stumbling out, she chirped that there was $32,000 worth of some shit. This confused me because as a freelancer, I have some savings for unexpected expenses, but it is not common to hold so much cash at home. My banking card was safe with me, and nobody other than myself should have been able to withdraw a sum of this grand caliber without my knowing. Jessica explained that she took the money from a drawer in our sideboard, assuming that we were well off financially. I appreciated her good intentions, but was confused about why she thought I had given her permission to take the money. This left me puzzled over where the $32,000 had come from. The mystery lingered until a month later when Kevin, presumably her husband, returned home. This unexpected resolution still left some tension in the air. Over that month, Jessica made over 136 calls to me, which I chose not to answer initially. When I finally did pick up, she accused me of something unclear. It seemed she was upset, but I couldn't understand why. Her persistent calls had become a source of annoyance, and when I eventually confronted her, she started blaming me for reasons I couldn't grasp. This confusion and the accusations added a layer of complexity to our interactions, leaving me to sort through the misunderstandings and the surprising discovery of the money. I realized that the situation was evolving just as it had been set in motion over the phone. I could hear Jessica's voice ringing out, but I learned she was addressing Lisa, a 33-year-old freelance jewelry designer. Lisa shared her ambitions and personal challenges with me. She expressed a strong desire to have children, but her demanding career often stood in the way. Her husband, Kevin, also 33, had originally held a regular job, but had since shifted his focus to help manage her burgeoning career. When Lisa and Kevin married, she was just starting out and not earning much, so they relied heavily on Kevin's steady income. However, by the time Lisa reached her 30s, her career had stabilized and grown to the point where she needed help managing her busy schedule. Seeing the potential in their partnership, Kevin decided to leave his stable job and join Lisa as a business partner. With Kevin's support, Lisa's business flourished, securing contracts with well-known international brands. Despite their professional success, they faced challenges, particularly with Kevin's mother, Jessica, living alone in the family home. Jessica had a skewed perception of their lifestyle. She believed they were living luxuriously, constantly attending lavish parties and dinners with corporate executives. While these events were indeed part of Lisa's job responsibilities as a jewelry designer, Jessica viewed them as extravagant leisure activities. Jessica's misunderstandings extended to financial expectations as well. She often asked them for money to host her social gatherings, assuming that their perceived lavish lifestyle could easily support her desires. This ongoing misconception created tension as Lisa and Kevin navigated their successful yet demanding lives while trying to manage Jessica's expectations and frequent requests for financial help. While I'm financially capable of supporting Jessica, the lifestyle she imagines us leading isn't as glamorous as it appears. The events we attend are part of our essential business commitments that we cannot skip. Living in luxury is a part of our professional image. It involves dressing elegantly and dining at upscale restaurants. Despite this, Jessica often shares her envy of our lifestyle, usually with a sarcastic undertone. Although I consistently decline her requests for money, Kevin, being her son, occasionally gives in to her demands, seeing it as a minor compromise to maintain peace and prevent disruptions to our work. However, this only seems to encourage Jessica's requests, which escalates our frustration. Recently, Jessica visited us and insisted that Kevin buy her a new dress for an upcoming social event. Although we suggested a more budget-friendly three-piece suit, she was adamant about getting a lavish dress to fit the occasion's perceived grandeur. In her view, the attire was crucial, and she even demanded a matching handbag, expecting us to cover that expense as well. To manage these constant financial demands more efficiently, Kevin decided to set up a credit card in Jessica's name, instructing her to use it for her expenses. Initially, she went overboard with her spending and had to be cautioned by Kevin. He then made it a requirement for her to consult him before making any significant purchases. This approach was intended to give her some autonomy while keeping her spending in check, aiming to balance her desires with our need to manage our finances responsibly. Despite having access to a credit card, Jessica's spending habits didn't change much. She even bought an expensive ring without informing us beforehand. The costs quickly escalated, creating a financial burden. Kevin, who was responsible for the bills, realized that the situation was unsustainable. Frustrated by her disregard for the financial implications, he decided to impose a spending limit on her card. Jessica was irate when she discovered she couldn't pay for her latest shopping spree because of the new limit. She stormed into our house upset and questioned the fairness of the restriction. She argued that her enjoyment of luxury and fun wasn't much different from our professional need to dress up and attend glamorous events. We tried to explain that our appearances at product launches and parties were essential aspects of our work, often hosted in luxurious settings. However, Jessica saw this as mere enjoyment on our part, not recognizing the professional obligations behind these activities. After the spending cap was introduced, Jessica's complaints subsided somewhat, though she still occasionally voiced her discontent to Kevin. Life continued relatively smoothly, and as the year drew to a close, an exciting business opportunity presented itself. A foreign brand offered us a chance to expand our business internationally. This proposal thrilled me as it was a step towards joining the ranks of top-tier designers. Kevin, managing the business aspects, also recognized it as a unique and valuable opportunity that we needed to seize. Despite the exciting opportunity that lay before us, Kevin and I had concerns about how Jessica would react, given her history of lavish spending. When we broke the news of our potential expansion overseas, her reaction was predictable. Jessica accused us of planning to live extravagantly abroad under the guise of work. She feared that we intended to relocate permanently. Trying to soothe her fears, I reassured her that we would return once our business affairs stabilized overseas. Still, she seemed anxious about being left behind. The ongoing debates drained both Kevin and me. Realizing we couldn't take her along, but wanting to offer some consolation, Kevin, tired from the constant arguments, proposed a different solution. He suggested we send her on a week-long vacation. Jessica, half pleased and half skeptical, accepted this compromise. Kevin committed to covering her flight and hotel costs, hoping this would bring some peace. However, the tranquility was short-lived. A few days later, while Kevin was preoccupied with the overseas arrangements, Jessica dropped by our house. She had another request. She wanted additional money to shop during her trip abroad. When I inquired about the credit card Kevin had given her, she admitted he had taken it back. fearing she might misuse it due to fluctuating currency rates. I explained that I couldn't authorize any financial assistance without Kevin's consent. The conversation ended with Jessica leaving in a huff. As the new year dawned, Jessica embarked on her 10-day journey. Upon her return, she shared a surprising revelation that would change our understanding of the entire situation. Jessica called me, bubbling with excitement from her trip, but soon admitted that she had overspent on souvenirs. Feeling increasingly fed up, I confronted her about the money she claimed I had saved for her, a sum I had absolutely no memory of setting aside. The conversation quickly took a sharp turn. I knew I had savings in my bank account earmarked for business emergencies, but it was impossible for Jessica to have withdrawn any cash from there without my consent. She then revealed that she had found $332,000 in a drawer of our house's sideboard. I was baffled. Keeping such a large sum of cash at home was out of the question for us. I informed Jessica that if she had indeed taken money from our house without permission, it constituted theft, regardless of her being family. I stressed the gravity of the situation, particularly if Kevin had earmarked that money for an important business deal. Throughout her trip, there had been no disruptions in our business transactions, which made her claim even more suspicious. Jessica, with a casual demeanor, admitted to using the money, as if informing me would settle the matter. I pointed out that taking money without permission was not only unethical, but also illegal. I expressed my concerns about her entitled reasoning. She defensively retorted that since we live so extravagantly, she saw no harm in sharing a bit of that lifestyle, suggesting that it was almost like doing a favor for a parent. This rationale only deepened my concerns about her understanding of boundaries and responsibility. I found Jessica's reasoning to be wholly inappropriate. She had taken money without permission, yet she seemed unconcerned about the gravity of her actions. She promised I would speak with Kevin upon his return, confident that he, being her son, would understand. She even made a passing remark that $32,000 wasn't much to him. Although I agreed to relay her message, I was deeply unsettled by the entire ordeal and amazed by her blatant lack of awareness. Ending the call, she nonchalantly thanked me and asked me to pass her regards to Kevin. Still perplexed about the presence of $32,000 in cash at home, I confronted Kevin about it when he returned that night. He explained that he had withdrawn the money from his bank account 12 days prior for an urgent payment that required cash. I was surprised he chose to keep such a large sum in a drawer, given the obvious security risks. Kevin appeared troubled when he inquired if I knew anything about the cash. Earlier that day, Jessica had called gleefully, thanking us for the $32,000, mentioning she had a wonderful time spending it. I was confused about her statement until it became clear that the money did indeed belong to Kevin. However, we were still clueless about the intended purpose of such a substantial amount. I questioned Kevin why he had left such a large sum at home, especially since we typically conducted transactions through bank transfers. He revealed that after limiting Jessica's credit card limit, she had covertly borrowed money from various other sources, including consumer finance cards and other credit cards she had opened without his knowledge. When Kevin discovered this, it added another layer of complexity to our already strained dealings with Jessica. Kevin took a decisive step by collecting all of Jessica's credit cards and preparing cash to address her escalating debts. Despite giving her the money, he was aware of the risk that she might spend it carelessly. This approach clarified some aspects of the situation, yet the reasons behind Jessica's actions remained puzzling. I was inclined to handle the repayment of her debts directly through bank transfers, thinking this would be more straightforward and traceable. However, Kevin preferred to maintain fewer records in our bank accounts. aiming to preserve trust with our business partners and keep our bookkeeping straightforward. Thus, he chose to withdraw cash and handle the payments personally. Supporting Jessica's overseas trip was essentially a parting gesture, acknowledging that once we moved abroad, we wouldn't be as available to assist her as before. As time went on, Jessica began to call me frequently, reaching up to 136 calls a day. Kevin had advised me not to engage with her excessive attempts to contact us, but her persistence raised my concerns. One day, her voice, tinged with desperation, broke through as she apologized for the incessant calls during our busy period of moving preparations. She revealed that she was facing daily payment demands and that Kevin was not responding to her calls. Desperate, she turned to me as her last resort for help. I was taken aback that Kevin would take such a drastic measure against his mother, particularly if he had indeed set aside money to clear her debts. Had he used it as intended, perhaps Jessica would not have been overwhelmed with collection efforts from finance companies and consumer lenders. Now she was bombarded with collection letters and calls, seemingly powerless to resolve her financial woes. This situation painted a distressing picture, highlighting the complexities and strains within family dynamics and financial management. The whole situation seemed like something out of a drama series. When Jessica called pleading for help, claiming it was a son's duty to assist his mother, I couldn't help but feel the gravity of her distress. I mentioned her pleas to Kevin when he came home, but his response was unexpectedly harsh. He coldly dismissed her, pointing out that Jess had squandered her chances herself. Following Kevin's example, and despite my desire to help, I decided to block Jessica's number. She was Kevin's mother, and if he chose to distance himself, there was little I could do. As the day of our overseas move drew closer and I was surrounded by boxes in our cluttered home, a profound sense of helplessness washed over me concerning Jessica's predicament. It turned out that the situation had escalated far beyond what I had imagined. Jessica had to sell her house to settle her debts, a drastic measure that underscored the severity of her financial woes. In addition to the $32,000 that Kevin had earmarked for helping her, it emerged that she had concealed even more debts. The total amount was so substantial that even after selling her property, she couldn't fully clear her obligations. The revelation that our home had to be sold was a stark and painful reminder of how deep Jessica's troubles ran, leaving an unimaginable total balance still outstanding. This drastic solution highlighted the harsh realities of financial mismanagement and its devastating consequences on personal and family life. Kevin, although saddened, recognized that there was little we could do about the loss of his childhood home. The emotional weight of losing a place filled with memories because of his own mother's actions undoubtedly brought a profound sense of loss. Now Jessica was living in a modest apartment, struggling to manage her remaining debts with a part-time job. At her age, finding work was challenging, and though I felt a twinge of sympathy for her, the reality was that her financial mismanagement had led to this situation. It was a stark reminder that even in later years, taking responsibility for one's actions is crucial. Meanwhile, our business was flourishing overseas, opening doors to opportunities I had never anticipated. Back home, we received inquiries from various brands, and I found myself navigating offers from unexpected places, an exciting development that significantly broadened our professional horizons. The success was gratifying, but it came with its challenges. My schedule was so packed that finding time to rest was difficult, and Kevin was equally busy with numerous responsibilities. Amid this bustling new life, the thought of starting a family seemed more like a distant dream. As I pondered these thoughts, gazing out at the foreign cityscape from my window, I reflected on the stark contrast between our thriving new environment and the difficulties back home. This juxtaposition underscored the complexities of life, where professional success often coexists with personal challenges and tough familial decisions. I'm Sarah. In addition to working in an office as a worker in my late 30s, I assist at my family's liquor store throughout the weekdays till 6 p.m. I assist with the family liquor store's accounting and management after work at the office. In the old days, the liquor store was a thriving enterprise, supplying alcohol to pubs, sushi restaurants, hotel banquet halls, and other establishments. We essentially had a monopoly because there were no other booze businesses in our neighborhood. However, in recent years, with regulations limiting the hours when alcohol can be served, the amount of alcohol consumption has decreased drastically. Not only were there fewer banquets, but pubs even stopped serving alcohol in the evening. Of course, this has brought serious financial difficulties to our family business. As the eldest daughter and my sister Noah already married, I found myself in charge of the struggling family liquor store. Moreover, my parents were terrible at managing the finances. On top of an existing debt, they continued their old-fashioned way of doing business when the store started to struggle, and without realizing it, the debt inflated massively, bringing us on the brink of bankruptcy. However, due to my father's determination not to close the store, I decided to move back home 2 years ago. Still, the income from the liquor store alone wouldn't be enough to pay off the debts, so I decided to continue my day job and help out at the store in the evenings. When I returned home after work on weekdays, my father greets me in the store, the shutters open, holding his favorite beer. "Ah, finally, you're back." "Dad, are you drinking again?" "These bottles aren't selling. I'm just drinking them." My father, having consumed quite a bit of alcohol, smells strongly of it, and his speech is slurred. "Dad, that's enough. Don't drink the merchandise." When I tell him that, he responds loudly, "Don't lecture me, the daughter who can't even get married." Saying so, he went inside the house. I cleaned up the cluttered store and dove into the books for the day. Dinner doesn't happen until after 9 p.m., when I finish up the store's closing tasks for the day. I may be used to it, but I still get hungry. Since my parents have already gone to bed, I head to the kitchen to make instant ramen and then start preparing breakfast for the next morning. My mom prefers bread for breakfast, and my dad likes rice, so every day I prepare both a Western and Japanese meal. This is how my day ends. On the weekends, when I finally get a day off, I set my alarm for 10 a.m. hoping to sleep in, but my mother wakes me up at 8 a.m. "Hey, heat up your father's miso soup quickly." "Why?" "You can do that, Mom." I refuse. "Why should I have to do the housework when you're here?" "Now get up." My mother seems to be mistaking me for a housemaid. True, I've always been meticulous and liked cooking and cleaning, so I naturally took on the housework. But ever since I was in high school, my mother, who had come to rely heavily on me, dumped everything from taking care of my sister to housework on me. Tired of this situation, as soon as I graduated from high school, I got a job and started the work I do now. In my teens, the work was very difficult, and there were many times I wanted to give up. But each time my seniors at work helped me, and I managed to keep going. Unable to enjoy a leisurely morning, I woke up, finished the housework, and went straight to work at the liquor store. I began shouldering the family debt when the business started to struggle, a total of $3 million a year. Frankly, it's not an easy sum to manage. I lived frugally to repay the debt, using only $1 cosmetics from the dollar store and packing homemade lunches. I endured the cold as long as I could to save on heating bills. In a bid to pull us out of this situation, I took it upon myself to help rebuild our family business. I believed that just supplying alcohol to local businesses wasn't going to cut it. I suggested to my dad that we could leverage the internet, but he was resistant, saying, "Our old way is the best way. I'm not the problem. The world is." While I was still thinking about the business, my mom would nudge me with those house chores. "Is lunch ready yet? Did you hang the laundry?" Juggling household tasks didn't leave me much time to devise and execute a plan to revitalize the business, leaving me always a step behind. But after much effort, I managed to start online sales using the internet, selling primarily rare alcohol available at our store. With restrictions making it hard for people to move about freely, this treasure hunt-like method of online sales was a hit, and our business started to pick up. Meanwhile, as our store's name gained visibility online, foot traffic also increased. My free time shrunk even more. Although it was tough having no time to myself, I kept pushing, thinking it was all to reduce my parents' debt. Things were finally looking up, and my parents were becoming self-sufficient. Around that time, I was told, "Noah's got a baby on the way." "Congratulations. That's great, your first grandchild." I beamed with joy, but my mom's face stiffened. "That's why you have to leave this house." "What?" I was unable to comprehend what she was saying. As I gazed at my mom in confusion, my dad, who had been listening to our conversation over a drink, added, "Noah and his wife are going to live here. Pack your stuff and get out." But I came back to this house for the two of you. My pleas fell on deaf ears. My sister had always been a free spirit, never helped around the house, and despite wanting to be a preschool teacher and leaving for college, she dropped out within a few months because she got bored. Even after that, she lived off our parents' financial support. That continued even after she got married. Her husband didn't have a steady job either, so they lived on her parents' money and their part-time job income. Despite this, they seemed to be living comfortably, going on trips here and there. I had a feeling about this, but chose to turn a blind eye. Suddenly being told to leave the house, I was too busy to even find a new place. I asked my parents to give me at least 2 months, and I began to search for a new home, putting the liquor store work on the back burner. During one of these days, my dad called my workplace. "Sarah, what the hell are you doing? The store is too busy. Come home right now." "No, I'm working now." "Ask Noah." Frustrated with my father trying to dump his work on me after telling me to leave, I hung up the phone. A few minutes later, "Sarah, your father's on the phone again." "Really? Again, I am so sorry for the trouble." As I answered the phone, my father started repeating the same things from earlier, eventually shouting on the other end of the line, "Sarah, you can leave early today if you want." My boss offered. I still had work to do, but didn't want to cause further disturbance of the office because of my father's incessant calls, so I decided to leave early that day. Arriving at our family liquor store, my father was there drinking, even though we were still open for business. "What? Drinking again instead of working?" I was furious. When I confronted him about his drinking, he rambled on, saying, "Drinking is vital to understanding the taste of our products. You just focus on your work." Unable to see an end to the conversation with my inebriated father, I silently started the family business. Tasks. From then on, I juggled my work, household chores, house hunting, and the liquor store duties, leading an unimaginably hectic life. One day, due to extreme stress, I fainted at work and woke up in a hospital bed. My colleague Jason, who had accompanied me, explained that I had collapsed, hitting my head on the corner of my desk. Touching my head gently, I could feel the bandages wrapped around it. "Give us a scare." "How are you feeling now?" "Better." Tears welled up in my eyes at his kindness. Over the past few years, people have rarely shown me kindness. At home, despite the work I did at the liquor store and the house chores, no one ever appreciates me. Being constantly manipulated by my alcoholic father and selfish mother had pushed me to my limit. Seeing me in this state, Jason said, "You've worked really hard, but soon you won't have to worry about the house, right? Let's take it easy from now on." I expressed my gratitude to Jason, who had shown me such empathy. That's right, I will be moving out soon. The thought gave me the strength to endure a little longer. Finally, I found a house and started preparing to move out. Even then, my parents nagged me to clean every nook and cranny of the house since my younger sister and her husband would be moving in. But by now, I was determined not to be the obedient daughter anymore. "Why don't you sort it out yourself? I have nothing to do with it anymore," when I retorted. My parents seemed a bit taken aback. My father replied, "What's with that attitude? It will be a relief to get rid of someone like you." I was fed up with my ungrateful parents who showed no appreciation for everything I had done for them. Once I completed my move, my sister and her husband moved into my parents' house, and I was finally free from their control. During the weekdays, I would work and get home before 8 p.m. On weekends, I could sleep in, go for walks, do some shopping, and finally have some time to myself. I was enjoying every day more than ever before. Then 1 month later, a phone call made me laugh out loud. "What's going on with this month's debt payment?" Suddenly, my mother called in anger. "Wait, a debt? Wasn't that created by you guys?" Despite all the effort I put into rebuilding the liquor store business and doing all the house chores, who was it that kicked me out for their convenience? I didn't give my mom a chance to respond, and in the background, Noah chimed in, "Please help us out." I had no idea about the debt. I thought the liquor store was doing great, and I could lead an easy life if I came back home. And she continued pleading like that. But of course, life was not going to be that easy. All I could do was laugh at my self-centered family, which now included my sister and her husband. 4 adults should be able to figure out money, right? When I said that, I could hear my mom and Noah arguing on the other end of the phone. They were hurling insults, blaming each other for their inaction, just tearing each other down. The argument heated up to the point where they seemed to forget I was on the phone. This went on for several minutes. Listening to their conversation, I felt very disappointed in my family. At the same time, my desire to distance myself from them grew even stronger. My dad, who drank all the time and didn't want to work, my mom, who didn't want to do household chores, Noah, who didn't want to work and wanted to live off her parents, and Noah's husband, who also didn't want to work. There was no way that a liquor store income could cover the nearly $1,000 in monthly debt payments and the living expenses for 4 adults with such a mentality. Fed up, I said, "I don't want to be involved anymore. Oh, by the way, I'm getting married soon. I plan on moving overseas in a few months, so don't rely on me anymore." When I told them that, my mom just blurted out things like, "What do you mean overseas? You must have a lot of money. Don't go overseas. Come back home." And I was so fed up with her that I hung up. They kept calling back, but I didn't answer any more calls from my family. The next day, I changed my cell phone number, and I asked my workplace not to connect any calls to me. While I was in America, I was able to distance myself from my family. And with the help of the people around me, several months later, just before leaving America, I heard from a relative that the online liquor store business that I built was also in trouble because everyone was doing their work haphazardly. Shipments were delayed, wrong products were delivered, and they were swept with customer complaints. Bad management spread by word of mouth, damaging the reputation and hurting sales. In parallel, the fact that my dad was drunk every day became a topic of conversation, and the store was labeled as a place with a drunkard, which slowed customer traffic. The sales plummeted, and the monthly losses were back. The family liquor store, which had recovered enough to make a living, was forced to close down. And the 4 people who had lost their credibility couldn't even get a job in the vicinity of their home. They lost their means to make money, couldn't repay their debts, and had to leave the store and house they had pledged as collateral. After losing their refuge, the family of 4 scrambled desperately to get in touch with me. Yet, thanks to the support of my extended family, who became my allies and kept my location secret, I was able to avoid contact with them. Despite the fact that No's wife is pregnant and nearing her due date, all 4 adults remained unemployed. Their daily quarrels, discussions about how to survive, and refusal to take initiative for employment eventually led to petty squabbles and blame games. In the meantime, I got married to Jason, the coworker who had accompanied me to the hospital when I fell ill. We had always been close, but the incident brought us even closer. At that time, we were both offered positions at our company's overseas branch. This string of coincidences led to our relationship and subsequent decision to marry. Since I had no time for myself while rebuilding my parents' house, I now want to cherish my time with my husband and put effort into both our work and home life. My family took for granted the sacrifices I made for them over the years. They didn't bother to put in any effort and left everything to others. Their only concern was their own benefit. The fate of such people who never bothered to make an effort was predictable. I am thankful to the people who rescued me. I want to use my family as a negative example and aim to lead a happy life, considering not only my interests, but also those of others.